Relief groups called for outside troops to provide security so they could feed people. It's now clear that military support is necessary to ensure the safe delivery of the food Somalis need to survive.
In October of 1993, U.S. forces launched a mission into the heart of Mogadishu, Somalia. The objective seemed simple: capture 2 top lieutenants of warlord Mohammed Farah Aidid. Intelligence suggested they'd be meeting in a building in the Bakara market district. The operation was expected to take less than an hour, but what followed would become one of the most intense urban battles in American military history, a mission that would leave 18 U.S. soldiers dead, dozens wounded, and change U.S. foreign policy in Africa for years to come. The Battle of Mogadishu. At the helm of the operation was Major General William Garrison, a career Special Operations commander. He oversaw Task Force Ranger, a combined group of elite Delta Force operators, Army Rangers, and Night Stalker helicopter crews. The plan was to use MH-60 Blackhawks and MH-6 Little Birds to quickly insert ground teams, capture the targets, and exfiltrate before the city could react. What Garrison and his team didn't know was that Aidid's militia had been preparing for this. Somali fighters had learned the Americans' patterns and were waiting. As soon as the assault began, things started to go wrong. The Delta operators successfully captured the targets inside the building, but outside, crowds were gathering fast. Somali fighters armed with AK-47s, RPGs, and technical trucks moved in. Then, disaster struck. Black Hawk Super 61 was hit by an RPG and crashed several blocks from the target site. Minutes later, Super 64 was also shot down. With 2 helicopters down and crews needing rescue, the mission shifted from a quick snatch and grab to a desperate fight for survival. Ground troops scrambled to reach the crash sites. They moved through narrow alleyways under constant fire. The streets became kill zones. At the first crash, a perimeter was set up, but the soldiers were outnumbered and outgunned. Medics worked under fire, helicopters tried to resupply or evacuate, but were driven back by RPGs. Then came one of the most heroic actions of the battle. Delta snipers Gary Gordon and Randy Shughart volunteered to protect the second crash site, knowing reinforcements were unlikely. Inserted by helicopter, they held off waves of attackers with their M14s until they were overrun. Both were killed in action. Their sacrifice earned them the Medal of Honor, the first awarded posthumously since the Vietnam War. As night fell over Mogadishu, the fighting intensified. The Americans were scattered, running low on ammo and surrounded on all sides. Soldiers dug in, holding intersections, moving the wounded, and calling in air support. Some hadn't eaten or slept in over 24 hours. At the second crash site, pilot Mike Durant, badly injured, was captured and moved through the city by Somali fighters. The rest of Task Force Ranger had no idea where he was, or if he was still alive. The relief column, made up of U.S. 10th Mountain Troops and armored vehicles from Pakistan and Malaysia, faced their own nightmare. Roadblocks, ambushes, and sniper fire slowed their movement. Some vehicles were destroyed or abandoned. Eventually, they reached the crash sites and began evacuating the wounded. But not everyone could fit in the vehicles. The rest had to move on foot, what became known as the Mogadishu Mile. Exhausted, bloodied, and still under fire, they ran through hostile streets to reach the safety of the stadium. By the time the last American was out, the battle had raged for nearly 18 hours. 18 U.S. soldiers were dead, more than 70 were wounded. The estimated Somali death toll was over 500. General Garrison accepted full responsibility for the mission, later stating, "I was the commander. It was my decision. I made it. I have to live with it." The aftermath was swift. Graphic footage of American soldiers' bodies being dragged through the streets was broadcast worldwide. Public support for the U.S. presence in Somalia collapsed. Within months, all American forces were withdrawn. For many, the battle exposed the limits of U.S. military power in complex urban environments. For those who fought, it was a brutal test of courage, endurance, and brotherhood. In the years following the battle, the extraordinary acts of bravery during those 18 hours began to receive the recognition they deserved. Master Sergeant Gary Gordon and Sergeant First Class Randy Shughart were posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for their selfless defense of the second crash site, a moment that became a symbol of valor and sacrifice. Dozens of other service members received awards for their actions, including Silver Stars, Bronze Stars, and Purple Hearts. The 75th Ranger Regiment and Delta Force operators involved in the mission were quietly commended within the Special Operations community. though the full extent of their heroism wouldn't be widely acknowledged until much later. For many, the medals serve not just as honors, but as reminders of the brutal reality they survived and the brothers they lost. The Battle of Mogadishu wasn't just a failed raid, it was a turning point. A reminder that even the best-trained forces can find themselves overwhelmed by terrain, tactics, and sheer numbers. The lessons from that day still echo through military doctrine today. Do you think the mission ever had a chance of succeeding, or was it doomed the moment they touched down? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you're into real military history told without fluff, consider subscribing for more stories like this one.